More Spelljammer Combat and Exploration development for the Light as Xaryxis adventure. We'll publish it as soon as it's done. So we're just going to keep doing the work today. Give me a hot second here for me to check my signal. We're just going to keep doing the work today. All right. I think I need to put like some sort of noise cancellation stuff into my environment so that I can kill my echo. But I'm just going to remain an amateur hobbyist hack until we can get that kind of production equipment up and running. If you want me to get there sooner, you can like and subscribe so that the algorithms start paying me to be here. And you can check out my books down below, linked to DMsGuild. The whole bundle is 33% off. If you're interested, you can read all of them cover to cover as free previews. And give me a hot second here to finish punching my signal so that folks know that I'm up and running. Yeah, so once this book is finished, if you check out the link down below for all the other books that I have linked there, you'll see that when I finish a book, what's the word? I publish. When I publish a book, they're always cover to cover, so you can read the entire thing, so you can make use of it. Folks generally circle back around and buy stuff after they test it out, because we like to build quality here. So be welcome to check out my books. If they work for you, I would love to have you on board. But for now, we are going to continue. This is the book cover that we built. Pretty happy with it. Let us continue our endeavor today. So, okay, great. So, let's see. Getting back into it. We have the... Verp. There we were. All right, cool. So, let's see. Zooming back in. We know that each square here is 500 feet. And that that your ship is going to be moving six squares per 500 feet. So if we're starting here, this is the derelict that they're exploring. And again, just to recap, this is an asteroid environment. The way in shifted while you were, like for example, if you came in through here, this is all, it's too small for you to move through now. It shifted. So you come into here, you check out the nautiloid as a floating derelict dungeon. And when that is done, you return back to your ship. But before you are able to, while you're in the process of discovering that this exit is no longer viable, the Nightspider hunter that lured you into this trap in the first place with the false signal on the derelict, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, and they can at best zoom in to the they can at best zoom into the dogfight scale at that distance if they win initiative. So having them start down in this corner and then creep around to get to the enemy ship eats up all their action economy and gets them within this dogfighting range. So that if the characters want to leave this area, they're going to have to, quote unquote, break the grapple that they find themselves engaged in at this scale. So these two ships, these are 50-foot squares now. So a galleon is 150 feet, Nightspider is 200 feet. So these 50-foot scales and then this larger square of 500 feet is where we see our character and enemy ship here. So while you're locked in dogfighting here, it puts you within weapon range of ballistas, which only have a 500-foot range. Catapults can easily hit, mangonel catapults can hit you 1,000 feet away, so you can't run anywhere inside of this dogfight. But until you break that grapple, you are stuck at this scale here. You're stuck at this scale, so you can still move, but while grappling, according to 5e rules, you only have each square takes 2 squares of movement. So you're at half speed. So even though your ship would normally be able to move 6, while you're dogfighting like this, if say you want to head this way, it'd be 1, 2, 3. That's the best that you would be able to do. Hey, good morning. So if you, so while you're dogfighting, you're exchanging fire at this scale in 50, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400 feet away. It's well within mangonel shot range. It's well within ballista fire range. So you guys can be exchanging fire at this 50-foot scale with your siege weapons while you're continuing to attempt to navigate around the asteroid field itself. And as we discussed last time, these numbers here is the target number that your pilot needs to roll on the 20-sided die as a pilot check to be able to move through this space unharmed. So, like, for example, this well, it's not really an example, it's exactly what we're doing. These Nightspiders have 5 weapons on them, and you only have 2. And they have enough slave crew to be able to man all of that weaponry. They're going to shred your ship. So you can attempt to take them on. Maybe your team is at 6th level, was the playtest that we're doing. Your characters may be strong enough to overtake this Nightspider ship and win the day, and then crawl your way out. Or you may find it's really dangerous. So if that's the case, then you're going to want to use your movements and attempt to break the grapple as part of the pilot's action, just like you would normally with trying to break grapple in a dungeon at the 5-foot scale if a spider jumped on your character. But if you're able to break the grapple, then you can get back up to 6 speed. As soon as you cross this gate, that's when you're going to make your pilot check, DC 13, and if you succeed, no damage. If you fail the check, then you're going to take D6 times 10 crashing damage for craning off of one of these asteroids. But it frees you up to then go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're now out of line of sight with the enemy ship. Like you just had to eat your action economy to hide. But next round, that was an object interaction, and now you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the rest of your movement. Or you could be here, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this would force you, when you cross through here, that's another pilot DC check 16 damage if you fail the roll. If you succeed, great, but you're stuck at this point. So now the neogi get to go, which would be 1, 2, pilot check, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now they have to do an orrery check. They'll do a spot check to see if they can have eyes on you. If for example, if your ship had come to here, you'd still have cover against the neogi. If you're here, you only have partial cover. So the neogi would be able to spot you if you're here. But if you're here, the neogi would have to make an orrery check, an orrery spot check, to be able to catch you on their the wild shape orrery is like a radar system. So it pops up a hologram of things that it can see within range of its environment. And so if it makes a successful spot check, it would be able to distinguish your vessel from the surrounding asteroids that are concealing it. But if you go this way, the neogi know there's only one way that you can go. Well, there's only one path, which is down this way, right? So we'll get back into artwork here in a moment. I'm just walking through a process here. So this is a hidden path. These are hidden paths. So there's no hidden path that's going to help the neogi here right now. Let's see. How are they going to proceed? I would say here. If you go this way or this way, regardless, you're going to end up over here. So I probably want to build in, instead of the hidden path being here, well, a hidden path there is fine and fine. I probably want to actually build this into a pathway as well. So let's put a lock back on that. Where's our bits? Labels, thank you. DCs. We'll call that a DC 20 to cross through that spot. So if the neogi are aware of it already, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is going to end their movement. They've got a object interaction, a standard action to dash, and this pilot has a bonus action to dash as well because the ship is slower. I'm giving them that edge. That is a DM's fiat to have just a rogue on their ship, giving them that extra action economy. Gateway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say they fall for it. 6. There we go. And that's the end of your action economy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Haha! 1. And now I can close distance again with you to dogfight. And now you're trapped in a dogfight again, and you're gonna have to fight with me. Bop, 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 bop. And now you have to do your 19 here on your third round. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's gonna end your action economy there. And then the neogi would be able to keep up with the dash action at 12. So from here on, if they can catch you anywhere at this midline, it looks like they're going to be able to stay on top of you until you get yourself out of the asteroid field. And once you're free and clear of the asteroid field, that doesn't mean that the neogi go away. It just means you're out of the asteroid field in open space. And so they can continue to attempt to dogfight you. And if you get too close, then the cops show up, the patrol ships at the Rock of Brawl, as scripted in the light of Xaryxis adventure that we're expanding on. This is when the patrol ships show up and chase the Nightspider away. If the Nightspider is absolutely shredding the team's ship, then those patrol ships can take an aggressive stance and protect your ship from being destroyed. Once there's 3 of you and only 1 of them, they're going to back off and sink back into this asteroid field and hide. There are the different pathways that they can. There's these different pathways they can take to elude capture. So that if your team if their ship is strong enough, you can go back into the asteroid field to try to hunt them down if the team wants to spend time doing that. But the shtick here is that this pirate ship has been luring multiple ships in and taking and capturing their ships and destroying them and enslaving the crew and stuff like that. So that's the thought process that goes on behind all of that business. So all that business is now resolved. Click, 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 click. Let's get these things off screen here for the moment. Click, 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 click. There, and we'll get back to work. So that's our thought process. That's where we're going. That is our next effort. So. Let's see. Here. So let's build some more maps. Beep, 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 beep. Pixel size equals 4. Good to go. So yeah, that's probably going to be a 3 or 4 round, unless the team decides to continue engaging. That's probably going to course out to a 3 or 4 round encounter. It's a lot of mapping work that we're doing for 3 or 4 encounters, but again, they can stretch it out to be as much as they want. They can screw around in this asteroid field as much as it pleases them. So, space jockeys encouraged. We're here. So the lighting that we're doing on all these is based on, this should be dark. We're blackening all the interior asteroid stuff. I'm gonna actually take this. I'm gonna rotate these a bit, like that. Okay, so if there is no direct exposure to the interior environment, an asteroid is completely blackened in. And if it's facing open terrain that ships can move through, I assume that like if the ships are emitting light, where is the surfaces that, like, you could say like light could pass through here and hit the light on like this little patch here, but I'm avoiding using cast shadow. I'm only using form shadow. Form shadow is where does the light hit this object and not necessarily affect objects behind it. So that's what. And if there's other rocks that are advanced forward in front of one rock, this rock becomes complete shadow. This helps inform where hiding spaces are on the map. Like, you can hide a ship in here if you squeeze into this space, and you have to make a piloting check to squeeze into the space. But the Neogi can hide in any number of these asteroids, weapons out, waiting for something to approach. And I'm using the wrong thing. There we go. Back on track. Neogi are, if you aren't familiar, Neogi are spiders, and instead of the 8 eyes that a spider would normally have, it has an eel head, like a neck, like an eel's neck and face. And they have no arms, but they're intelligent, so they're always angry because they can't pick up spoons. So they enslave things with arms and hands to pick up spoons with them, and there's all sorts of nightmares you can imagine these horrible creatures do to their humanoid creatures if those humanoid creatures don't obey. So we're going to step over that subject. But being a more equipped creature, it's like chimpanzees biting off your fingers when they hate you. Yogi are kind of like that. So do what you're told, please. Keep your fingers. And when you run out of fingers, you run out of use. So then they feed you to the Umber Hulks. And Umber Hulks are giant beetles that can walk around and bite your head off. So Neogi are pretty well equipped. They're dangerous, man. Getting on a Neogi ship is dangerous because those giant beetles that can bite your fingers off or bite your head off. The Neogi, you bite your fingers off, but the Umber Hulks, they can bite your head off. And they got those giant hypnotic eyes. So if you fail your willpower, you go catatonic for a moment, so they can just walk up and casually eat you. So that's all nightmare fuel there. So give me a second here to cleanse my palate of suffering. Here, I had come in here and blotted out some of these sections. There's some extra asteroids in here that just seem to eliminate some of the fun. Like it made the dungeons a little bit like too dungeon wally, so I wanted to come down into here and delete some of these. Delete. Huh. Oh, right. And here. Here. There. There. Okay, cool. We're back on track. Now we got these things, and these things can... I'm trying to merge things up here. Give me a minute. There we go. That goes to here. That and that are the same, so I can merge those layers. That shadow is the same as that shadow. I can merge that there and there. So you got your line, you got your outlines, you got our black outlines. We can merge these things together now. Merge. Merge, don't do it. There. Okay, so asteroids, you get the layers here. Where these layers are, these are, again, like we were talking about last time, these are hidden paths. That means I want to... Here. Yeah, I want to path that. So I'm going to blip, 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 blip. Let's be bold. Let's not be bold. Do we want to be bold? Let's be bold. Let's merge that down. Let's be bold. Let's regret. So go back down to 4 pixels. There we go. Here, labels. So instead of that being a 20 to get through, we'll just make that a hidden path. So lock that layer back down to 4. There we go. There we go. Neat. Just like that. Okay, cool. Keeping on. So back on point. So yeah, an asteroid is black if it is tucked behind other asteroids. Not perfect, but we're moving on. Hey, Tyler. How you doing, buddy? That's roughly right. I'll turn that back a bit. There. Okay, cool. So that is our environment. So now that we have the rules of lighting showing, like, for example, I should probably fix this. 4. There we go. Hey! Nothing like map making and impending workload. No kidding. No kidding, buddy. And I got a lot on my plate. I'm just going to do a little bit of mapping, and then I'm going to do some doodling just to switch things up a little bit. So, right now, this is the rough form line that I have for stuff. I'm going to duplicate this layer for nonsense, and then we're going to start sculpting these things a bit. Now that we have everything fused on the same layer, I can start sculpting these into the shape that I want. Use the same sort of lighting that I did on the other asteroid field that we did. So we'll spend a little time. I'm going to actually set a timer. It's 6:45 now. Let's give ourselves 20 minutes for now. Start. I can do this stuff. This is stuff I can do flying casual. So it's not necessarily. I can flush that out there. Here. And we'll go through the same painting color process that we did with the other asteroid field, that once I'm happy with the lighting for all these objects, then I can do that. And then we'll overpaint them with the same color with the same colors that we used for the other asteroid. So I already have the colors loaded in for that one. I'll make it real easy. And I certainly spent like 20 hours building that asteroid field. So I've got a pretty good. I think I've got a pretty good bead on what I need to do to build the rest of these pretty efficiently. So it's just the lighting. Lighting is always the issue. Just making it look interesting. Here are 100%. This is the black and white map, so I don't want to have any. I'm trying to prevent any kind of gradation, but still, I use the smudge tool so much to create shapes and objects that I have to push it all the way up to 100%, so that when I do something, it just grabs it for eternity, which also means that it's completely clean when it pushes something. So that's the tool that I'm using right now, just the smudge brush at 100% capacity. So it leaves no pixels left behind. Start trimming down the shapes on these things here. It's that line weight that ends up selling it. Like just these little globs, they don't look quite right, but once you start integrating line weight into the leading edge like that, excuse me, it starts informing your shape a little bit better, making it, read as asteroid. Hopefully. Anyway, that's the hope. Anyway. But this actually this encounter is before the shark hunt at Topola's Tower that I worked on last time. That map, last week's map, is 2 encounters after this one. Excuse me. It must be coffee time, children. I just got the first Dark Tower novel on Audible. Oh, hey, that's cool. I like Audible. I would say I've not read Dark Tower. I know it's supposed to be legendary, so that's cool. Gunslingers and magic and stuff. That's super cool. What I kept invested in Audible for was the Dresden Files. I used James Marsters is the narrator for that whole series. You know, if you're a Buffy the Vampire enthusiast, he was Spike the Vampire. But his narration is amazing. Yeah, that whole series is amazing. I don't know if there's even going to be another book. But God, what a great series. He capped off like that last book boss fight. A whole boss fight is basically like that. A whole last book is basically a giant boss fight. It's super cool. So much super cool. I mean, just best in class in the modern fantasy genre. Oh boy, this is a level of intensity that I don't think I need to sustain. Let's get down to two pixels. Nope. Do some shapy stuff here. That feels good. That's what I was going to do. Hold on. Erase all that through, and let's grab these stones and manipulate the hate. There. Yeah, that feels right. Let's do that. Yeah. All right. So what I should probably do is start down in this corner and work my way forward. There, like that. Clean these up a bit, make them feel a little bit more right. I've just about got the language figured out in the squadron section of the revised playtest rules. I'll be uploading those soon. And by upload, I mean cut and paste from the document I'm working on into the playtest document that we're using. And I gotta get a new link because the link that's down below right now has like all the mechanics for all the different types of command systems that we're using, like squads, guilds, kingdoms, vehicles, spelljammer ships, siege weapons. Like all of it is there, but it's far beyond what the Spelljammer playtest itself is. So I think I'm going to switch out those links so that it's just going to be a Spelljammer document only, and get rid of all that extra content, and just silo my stuff a little easier, so it's more agreeable for newcomers to be able to digest it properly. Yeah, that looks good. Here. But yeah, we've almost got, for the squadron mechanics, for the fighter ships that are, you know, like tormentors and like 15 feet long instead of 150 feet long. Yeah, just about have that resolved. I think the design decision I want to go with is a minor helm instead of a full spelljamming helm that doesn't let you do 100 million miles a day. It only lets you do 1 million miles per day, which is 100 times slower than the spelljammer ship can go, but it's plenty fine for the 50-foot scale, because that's still going to be it's basically the speed of a lot of spelljammer creatures, unnatural creatures that fly around space, like scabbers, for instance, can do 10 million miles a day. So actually, that's what I should do. Is I should make not 100 times slower, but 10 times slower, so they match speed with the animals that are out running around. So it becomes, if you're on a fighter ship, and it's going to take you, you're going to want to piggyback on an actual spelljammer ship so you can get good speed going. So you can get from point A to point B without running out of air first, is basically what it is. The fighter ships can easily keep up in combat until a target ship ramps up speed to 10,000 per round and blips out of view. But while you're engaged in a dogfight, it's let's get let's do this real quick, just to make a point. Brr, get out of the way. Okay, so here's our 50-foot scale, right? And so if we're going to how am I gonna do this real quick? Hold on. Right, so this is a 50-foot scale. Then then fighter ships are only at the 50-foot scale, right? So you can have like multiple spiders hanging out on these limbs, waiting for a crew to scurry down the leg, jump onto a ship, come after you, pow, pow, pow. So the little fighter ships are at the 50-foot scale. So this is a 500-foot map here in dogfighting. If the carrier ship can stay in dogfighting, then they can safely launch their enemy little flitter ships and come and harass you. And then if you break out of orbit, if you get away from the main carrier ship, you still have these flitters that are flying around and harassing your ship like gnats. Gnats with lasers. So watch out for that business. But yeah, if the Nightspiders can get close, they can send a nest of flitter ships after you. And if you can win the fight, you can then pick up some flit ships so that you have fighters on aboard, so that you can you can start using the squadron action with your team. So, what is? Yeah, get out of here, you scallywag. I don't need that. Right. So yeah. So that's one of the fun things that we've got looking out for us. To up the danger level on these guys, because it takes a lot for these things to keep up with you. But if they can get some fighters onto you, that also lets me chase you through the map with these lighter ships that have a speed of 6, so they can keep up with you. But they're tiny. They can only take 1 or 2 hits at best from the ballistas that you guys are firing before they have to fall away or get completely wrecked. I can also do fun things like hide these fighter ships in like all these little nooks and stuff. Like whenever you enter an area, I can have a battery of like maybe up to 12 of these things that can hide at different points on the map. That when you come by, they come out and they start harassing you. But they all pay homage to their spider ship master. So that's the idea. That's kind of the one of the ideas behind that. Tokens. And if you get out of the asteroid field, those little fighter ships are not going to chase after you. Tyler says this map could work for underwater maps and corals. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Where I'm at? I'm over here. Thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. It's, I mean, oh yeah, and here's the background. All these little rocks in the background. So I've got clear spots. I need to fix some of it. But the idea is that when this is finished, I'll be able to, as a like for the color map, I can put like some of these asteroids in down here like this, and then fade that down as background here like this, so I can have an extra layer of colored asteroids. And like whenever you get to this area here, these will all be dark like this. And then I can have another layer on top of it that bridges the gap in between these things like this. But I can drop that down to like a 66 capacity, while this one, actually that would be like 50%, while this would be like 75. Maybe 66. Let's go with that. Nah, 75 feels right. So that's what the background would be. That's the. No, actually, 66 is actually better. There. So once we get the color in, it'll have this faded color effect in the background, kind of like when you're like Raiden, the old fighter ship game Raiden, when you got the top view of fighter ships that are strafing and fighting other enemy ships that are coming in, but it has all that terrain that's parallaxing underneath your fighter ships as you proceed through the level. This kind of has that same, hopefully this will have that same feeling of this little paintery effect where you've got these asteroids that are hanging out at the lower, like at a lower depth. So like you're dealing at this, you're like, if this is the asteroid cloud, and this is the band that you guys are in currently here, you've got these other layers underneath here and up here, and like this layer down here is what I'm attempting to produce with like this faded color background effect that isn't going to impede you looking at your tokens going across, but it on the color map it won't just have to be black. It won't have to just be white space painting or black space to obscure stuff. I can have this claustrophobic feeling to it, so that like I can once we get the color into this thing here equals there. I can do cool things like have a I can use I can use 0 equals 4 blank. I can use the cast shadowing from the space that it's over. Like I can do form lighting. Cast shadows, so that it has a different language than the asteroids above it, so that you can tell in an instance that this is more flavor text background stuff. than the actual asteroids that you're interacting with. And I can drop down, I can fade that out a bit. So it has that sort of thing going on. I mean, it's only black and white right now, but that's where we're going with it. It'll be a more, it's going to be a far more involved map than the first one that we did. But it's going to let me do a lot of fun paintery stuff. So anyway, that's the plan, man. That is the plan. That's what all these little circle stuff is in the background here. It's to help. Like, why can't I just fly up or down? It's like, no, it's because this is a hollowed space inside of, like, you can, like, this is all like this and this and this, and there might be a whole nother map over here that you can't engage with right now, but your ship came in originally from here to find this derelict in the first place. So there used to be a path that would lead in here, but that path is subsequently cut off while you're exploring the nautiloid. So you have to find another way out. There. The end. Yeah, so let's get back after it. Hey, that's my 20-minute mark. Okay, let's go ahead and dismiss this for the moment. I'm gonna keep at this a bit. I'm gonna switch gears here in a moment, but I have to keep that timer going. Otherwise, I'm gonna get lost in time. This is this type of detail work that I'm doing right now, like the spinning of this line and stuff like that. This is stuff I can do offline. Like, you don't need to watch me do this. Once you get the gist of what I'm doing, like the value of me doing it, unless I'm talking about stuff, not a lot of value here. So I'm going to switch gears to an illustration in a moment, because I have not done a lot of illustrating on this channel yet. I mean, I did the book cover, and I did the Eberron book cover, so I guess I've done some illustration. Man, I love that stuff. Okay, I'm gonna put that on hold for the moment because I got like a lot of rocks to do. Actually, I'm gonna finish this one, then I'll move on, and then I swear I'll move on. They're fun to do, man. Rocks are fun. I enjoy the meditative process. And I can add to the line weight as I get further back into the structure. So that line weight is really, really valuable on creating language for the form that you're working on. It's subtle, you know? It's just, you're not just a tracer, dude. Inking is important work. It really does add to it's the subtlety, it's the inference of what the line weight does for the shape of the object that you're working on. It's really important. So don't hate on your tracers, yo. That is a very big rock. But it won't have spherical gravity until it's at least 100 miles. So this is all floating around in the same plane, the same parallel two-dimensional space. Even though they're three-dimensional objects and you're floating through as a three-dimensional thing, you're going through these these tunnels. You know, it's asteroid. You know, it's dodging asteroids in asteroid fields. So whenever we enter a new like a new space, like this is a space, this is a space, this is a space, space. Anything that's between these gateways, any space that's between gateways, there's a chance of a hazard of like new asteroids appearing that weren't there before that could block off access to like if I rolled a d6 and on a 1 out of 6 we're going to drop an asteroid field. Like if this is the space that you're in, I could end up having to drop an asteroid right here, and that completely cuts off your path. So now you got to go back the other way. So that's the idea. In an ideal world, this would just be a blank grid, and all of these asteroids are separate objects that you could independently, like you could grab and independently move into another position. But that would be a ton of assets that we're dumping onto the map. As a VTT, I could do that. As a tabletop, one sneeze would send all these little dozens and thousands of asteroids scattering all over the screen, or all over your table space, and that would be horrible. So I'm going with this fixed map system. But absolutely, when these are done, we can take each one of these and cut them out as just as a map pack of 200 asteroids. I can cut all of them out individually and give them to you as just a shitload of icons. But again, if you're playing at an actual tabletop with friends at the kitchen table, just go get gravel from your garden. Just go grab some gravel, and that makes for much better asteroids than purchasing tokens, you know. We'll finish this up in a moment. Just want to get this language here. Asteroids are addictive, dude. Super fun to do. God, they're fun to do, but they take up time. They're very time consuming to do this. This is why my production time is so slow for a book. I do a lot of this. So I think this is, God, I love that. I love these things. Oh God, that's so fun. These things are so fun. Oh. One more. And this is how I can get through all the content in a week, because I just fall into just pushing these pixels, and it's just so fun making these objects. I'm going to finish this one, and then I'm going to switch gears. We're going to do some illustration. So on, hey, physical props, the tabletop good times. Hell yeah, man. Texture-y sort of blockiness going on here from the rock. Trim that down. Almost there. Stay on target. Stay on target here. Like that. That feels good. Nice. Okay, cool. So, etc., 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 etc. We're just going to do this forever. So I can take this offline and hold off on more of this until later. There you go. Okay, cool. So we're just going to hit save here and get rid of that. Labels. Background. All right, so let's work on this illustration some more. This is something that I got bored. Like I couldn't quite sleep, so I needed another 20 minutes to fall asleep. So I built this. It's about 20 minutes of work so far. Let's go with skew. Skew paste here, and then I need to bring this tip in like that. There we go. That's proper perspective. But yeah, in celebration of Dragonlance coming our way, let's do some space sharks, yo. So this is a scaver, which is a space shark, an armored scaver. And these things can move at 10 million miles per day, so they can still hit a speed of 1,000 miles per hour. They can still pace at 1,000 feet per round, but that's their max. They have to actually move at a slower 100 miles per space, so they're a tenth of the speed of a full Spelljammer. But if they get into your wake, they can. If they can slide into your wake, they can stay with your ship and they can take bites out of your crew. But for flyers, you can have a squad of these things hanging out on a carrier ship. And instead of having fighter ships, you just drop your cavalry out the door. Like if you have like rocks or like griffins or flying like giant eagles. All those things can navigate inside the astral space. So I see you worked on adventures on Chronomancy. I co-created time traveling guides with Rick back in the day. Oh, hey, that's super cool, Micah. Welcome to the mix, man. Where am I at? Here, there. That's eating up my text space. Is that right? There we go. Yeah, dude. Good times, good times. I actually, I did the book cover for Adventures in Chronomancy. That was a Realm Warp game. Ryan Langer, good guy. He recruited me on to. I was actually recruited to do writing in Adventures in Chronomancy, and there's 2 adventures in there. I believe it was. I don't remember it was Matthew Whitby did one of them, and I can't recall who did the other adventure in the Adventures of Chronomancy, but there's like 2 30-page adventures in there, and then I got recruited to do a bunch of single encounters. So I did 4 different encounters, one on each tier of play, and one of them is a lich's lair that's trapped under rubble that you can't get to physically. If you know it's there, you could plane shift to it or teleport it to it like anyone else. But if you don't know it's there, you don't know to go looking for it. But one of the paths of time leads you to that space. It's basically just a giant death trap with like a bunch of wards, and you basically invade a lich's lair, and his phylactery's hiding in there. And if you can take him out, you can take him out. But it was a bunch of isometric maps that I had produced for that, and the one that I liked the most was the phase spider nest, which was a slew of interconnecting. It was like a bunch of interconnecting globs of temporal webbing that had, it was an isometric map, so it was built like this, and like it had, you know, the grid going through it like this. And so I had all these little chutes and tunnels that would lead from one area to the next, and like there'd be an entrance from a time tunnel here, and like the exit to where you want to go maybe here, but there's another one here, and there might be like another one that leads this way. So you have to, like dungeon style, navigate from one glob of like one cluster of webbing to the other, fighting face spiders along the way. Or you could move between the globs, because there's just a bunch of, and the way I illustrated it was a bunch of netting here that were binding these things together. So anytime you move from one established grid space to another by passing through the webbing, it would age you D10 years. So you could navigate quickly through the space if you're willing to lose years of your life. Otherwise, you have to slog through the different tunnels, and then you have to figure out, is this the way I want to go or not? And when you get out of the main temporal structure back out into the paths where they're supposed to go, like yonder, then the phase spiders won't chase you, because while you're inside of their net, there's all these egg sac regions, and there's also food clusters. So inside the food clusters, there's all these people that are mummified or in the process of dying. But it's a time loop trap. So the things in there never die. They get milked, and then if they shift focus, if the spiders shift focus, they become their earlier form again, and they can feed on them again. And with the egg sacs, it's the same. That you could kill a bunch of spiders in here, but they just respawn again in their time loop as baby spiders. So there's clouds of baby spiders. There's hunting packs of full-grown face spiders, and then there's a giant mother face spider that is it's more like an ant colony sort of thing, but the effect is still there. Like if you go further down into the bottom of the complex, you find the lair, and she's like a 20 CR creature, and if you kill her, she just respawns D6 rounds later, because everything inside this time bubble is it loops like Groundhog's Day, so nothing ever dies inside of there. So while your characters are in there, they can potentially be trapped and captured, but you can't die while you're inside of there. You can be dropped down to 1 hit point, and it just ejects you from that. So if you die, you get ejected from the time space, and you have to try it again. So that's a fun thing. But I have an entire campaign that's running around that. It's we're at 17th level right now. We started at first level 4 years ago when I first produced helped produce that book. I use that face spider lair in my campaign, and it just it never stops being dangerous. So even at 17th level, when the characters go through there, it's a fight of attrition that they can't ever actually defeat until they can peel apart the paths of time altogether, which is what their main quest is to break the time loops that the rest of the world is also trapped inside of. So that has been every time a character dies, the entire loop resets. So I can throw a save or die, or be completely irrational about the type of CRs that they have to face, because if they die, they just reset back at the same bar, splayed out at the same table with half-drank beers and a hangover. That's how they start their time loop every day. It's just back at the bar, hungover, eggs are almost done, hold on. There's coins sitting there. Like, that's where they passed out, and when they wake up, they're inside of a time loop. And so they start at the bar, and then they only have so much time that they can hex crawl out from the bar to try to find, why it didn't take long for them to realize they were trapped in a time loop. But it's taken them 4 years of actual playtime for them to finally get a bead. Like there's a Lithid that are creating this time construct so that they can mine people's psychic energy forever, because if they die, they just get looped back to the beginning of the day. They can feed off of them again, but they themselves are in the astral, so they're not actually inside the time loop unless they, don an avatar and drop into the time loop to interact with their chattel. And they only have to do that if something's going wrong, and when the characters show up, something is definitely going wrong. So they've been playing run and gun with a bunch of thralls and a Lithid for, like I said, 17 levels now, and they're just at the point where they get the time machinations that these Lithid that are controlling, and they're starting to tear it apart. So once they grind the Lithid into normal time space reality, they can kill them, collapse the time tunnel, or the time space, and then have the next day. If nobody dies at the end, after 18 hours of game time, I start hitting them with 5th edition exhaustion. So by the time they hit 6th level exhaustion, they just die, and that's the end of the 24-hour time period. So they automatically reset at the end of the day. So even if they survive the day, they die. So in the adventure, the culture of the table has become, is this something that we're willing to fight at, even though we're at half movement and disadvantage on all our attack rolls and ability checks, yada yada yada. Like, is it worth it? Is it worth it to us to keep fighting at this point, or are we just going to slit our throats? And depending on what their objectives are and how much skill checks they actually have to do with what their next task is, a lot of times they'll just slit their throats and just reset. They call it resetting. They'll reset the day. And knowing what they need to get done the next time around, they can beeline to that next gateway and clear that challenge, so they get access to another section of the map. And once they get through that section, I don't really need to slow them down with the additional skill challenges. It's just a matter of, well, do your skill check, and this thing is lethal. That's how many resets you have to go through to successfully navigate that trap, now that you know how it works. And it gets easier and easier, and the more they encounter it, it just becomes something that I don't even bother wasting their time with anymore, because it's something they know so well that they can just waltz through it undamaged. So like when they get into a town and they've looped through that town a number of times, they know when people are going to come out of the door, they know who's going to be in that next room, and they know when they're going to leave, so they can pace out. It's just a matter of them slowing. It's like it becomes difficult terrain, them waiting for things to navigate through. But instead of it being difficult terrain, it's difficult time. So it just eats more time out of their 24-hour block of time. It's like, how many hours is it going to take for us to be able to maneuver through this space? Well, it's going to eat about 3 of your hours to be able to avoid all the obstacles in this place to get to the next part of the dungeon. So they're always fighting time and like short rests to get back resources and stuff. That has a cost to their day, but depending on how many challenges they're facing, that cost is worth it, because if they're entering new space that they haven't explored before, they're going to want to be fully stocked up. So they'll poke around the area a little bit, try to start sussing out what it is before they start wrecking heads. Or like they'll get, or like some of the things that other than the Illithid, there's demons that are running around that have possessed people as well, and some of them are what we call time savvy. And if you run across a time savvy opponent, they learn every time you learn. Every time you reset, they reset, and they get better at fighting you. So I can lay different traps, and people wake up at different times of the day. So if you have an enemy that wakes up earlier than you, then they can lay traps. And so as soon as you spawn, they start slaughtering you. So it's like you wake up, make a reflex saving throw, like, crap, and so it becomes an immediate running gun for them to try to figure out who it is that's taking shots at them, and how can they get the edge over that character, or over that enemy. It's a pretty fun campaign. Eventually, when it wraps, once I get clear of all this command stuff, I will build a toolkit out of that and make it a full time travel campaign that I'll happily bundle with other people's stuff. But it's more DM mechanics, because that's what I'm primarily concerned with. is building tools that the DM can use to interact with and create new adventure scenarios and concepts and different types of encounters. So my players entirely going to run through a time loop. Yeah, man, they're fun. They're super fun. When you talk about this time loop concept a few streams ago, it was cool. Now that you've elaborated, it sounds absolutely incredible. Yeah, it's neat. So I love my players. These are all people that have never played D&D before. It was a complete just virgin crew of 4 people that never played, have no idea. And so I'm like, okay, great, I'll build you a D&D game. And so our session 0, I was like, so what's your tolerance for, like, what's your objective in this game? They're like, well, like they're crit roll fans. They're like, well, we want to play it, we want to have a full campaign with the same characters so we can go through a full story arc. I'm like, well, that's not normal. Normally, character death is a risk that you have to take in. Like, well, I mean, we really, like, the consensus from the team was we don't want to lose our characters. We just want to have a full adventure that we can go through front to end. And like, well, the only way I can, and I didn't tell them. It's just like, okay, I can do it. I'll figure it out. And what I figured out was this time loop thing. It just happened that I was working on the time travel adventure, the Adventures in Chronomancy at the time, and I just created that time loop trap with the phase spider. So I'm like, well, I can just use the space spider thing and just blow that out to a full Groundhog Day idea. And I took 2 or 3 weeks to put the initial like that quick idea that I just fed to you. That was my initial pitch, and I didn't tell them the pitch. I just said, okay, great, we're ready to go. And I start them at the bar, because you start at a bar. It's super generic, pop culture D&D stuff. So first time these guys are playing D&D, I have them start drunk at a bar, and there's weirdness going on in town. So it starts off just as like a simple mystery, but at one point they find their way into a hidden ruin, this crypt underneath this statue that's in town. And so they go down into the crypt, and that's when they trigger some weird tech machinery, like crystal stuff, and it triggers the time trap, and now they're trapped, and now they're stuck in it. So they end up finding, and then I mercilessly kill them, and they're like, what? And then they wake up again at the bar, like, what happened? And they're like, is it a dream? And like, I don't tell them anything. So for the next few sessions, they're poking around and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and it's not the end of the day. But then they're just futzing around, and then they hit the end of the day, and I immediately reset them. They're like, why are we back at the bar? We just went to sleep out in the woods. We were trying to move on to the next point, and when we woke up, we're back at what is going on? So it took like 6 sessions for them to figure out that they were in a time loop at all. And once they realized they were in a time loop, like, oh God, what do we need to do to find out how to get out of here? So they have to start doing this hex crawl to find people in the area around that can ask questions, and they can build allies. It's like, well, this guy's not going to remember anything the next day. How useful is this? So they started using people as resources. There's a lot to it, like manipulating people and like knowing, like using bluff and deception and stuff like that to shortcut conversations so that you can get to the next point. So it's like, we've had this conversation like a dozen times. Well, if you use a deception roll or intimidate, you can push past some of these talking points so you can collapse the time frame of the conversation. But it'll be a toolkit. So like all these little caveats and like they're all like little mini games and like mini ability checks that you can do inside of like as skill challenges to get past death traps and get past conversations, deciding who's time savvy and who isn't, so that they're active challenges inside of the environment. But beyond that, they're like, so we level up. It's going to be a full 1 to 20 campaign, so you'll have the full experience of what playing D&D is like, and then we're going to have, so your character will level up each time. They all decided that they want me to level up their characters because we have a druid and a ranger and an arcane trickster and a paladin in the party. And like, we don't know anything about any of this stuff, so why don't you why don't you level up the characters and you tell us what feats are good and you tell us what stat gains are good and you tell us what spell selections are good. And so I was like, okay, great. That's like a DM's dream, to have a party of players that don't want to pick the spells that they're going to learn for the day. So I converted them all to warlocks, basically, so they could regain all their resources on short rests, because they regain everything when they reset on a long rest anyway. So long rests become pointless. Long rests mean that this is as far as you can get today, and now you have to reset your resources. So making all the spell casting like a warlock means that taking a short rest is valuable because they can get their resources back. And now at 17th level, they only have have their invocations, so they only know 1, 6, 7th, 8th, and now 9th level spell. And the druid is the only full caster on it. I mean, we had a bard for a while, but he dropped out. And so the stable team that we have right now is druid, ranger, and rogue. And we're too far in to recruit any more people, so we're just sticking with the 3 that we have. Boy, I'm spending a lot of time on that lance. I'm going to get out of that and just work on something else, because I'm mincing on that stupid circle way too much. But yeah, so they let me pick the spells. So what that ended up doing was, like, I kept teleportation out of their hands. I kept plane shift out of their hands. Anything beyond Misty Step, I didn't give them access. Like I can give them any spells that I want, since I can sculpt the spell list. So they have their druid is a druid of the dreams. I gave them that. That's the. I actually gave them each 3 subclasses, and the druid got moon, circle of the land, specifically forests, and Underdark, because those are the only 2 environments that they deal with, is forest and Underdark. Those are the only things they can get to on foot in the 18 hours they have, 24 hours they have before they die. And so that was easy. And then I also gave her the Dream Circle. So she got to a point that they can perform a ritual that sets a space-time anchor. And so if they set us as the druid's ability, when they set a time-space anchor, they can wake up at that point at the beginning of the day. So they can push themselves across the map by resetting their spawn point every day. But there's so many, like the demons and the Illithid know how to tear those things apart. So they're always trying to put their anchor someplace that's not going to get found. And if they get found out, time-savvy things will camp their spawn point. So they get spawned on. So they have to ditch that spawn point. They're like, fuck, we got to scrap it and go set a new spawn point someplace else, far enough away that we won't be found. So and then when a spawn point gets torn down, they wake up back at the bar again. So they're constantly having to watch their 6 while they're pushing their way through the map environment. And maybe by level 7, they were able to finally get to a new town, like an actual city with a lot of resources, and they find out that there's all these different time-savvy factions that are running around inside of the city trying to manipulate the time loop. And when they run across another faction, like the players that are time-savvy, they become a priority to knock them out, because like the Mafia figured out there's a time loop. So now they're trying to monopolize time loops to their advantage. And so the team found a sage, and they pulled the sage into the time loop so that she would have infinite time to research a subject, assuming that the books were there. So they have sages. The sages researching rituals for them, researching new spells for them, creating new magic items for them. It's just, how many loops do we need to get this magic sword so they can go kill that demon? It's like, well, it's going to take me a couple months to build it. It's like, okay, let's start looping. And they can like downtime as building loops, so they can pick up feats and they can pick up new skills as a process of learning in the time loop. But every time you burn resources, when you burn days to pick up skills and stuff, it attracts the attention of temporal creatures. So if you want to gain a skill or gain a new feat or gain a new magic item, you're gambling that you're not going to get caught by inevitables that know there's a time loop going on and want to tear you out of it. So So there's all these high hostile threats. The more they realize, oh my god, we can manipulate this time space and do these things. Every time they think that they've outsmarted the system gets pissed off at them. And it punishes them for doing that. Now it's a decision-making process. God, do we really want to do that? Is it worth it for us to do that? Yes, it is. Okay, let's risk it. And, then they have to end up fighting like 3 or 4 inevitables. But at, 17th level, these are viable threats. And since I'm controlling what spells they have access to, I can keep them. It's Metroid style. Like whenever at one point they were fighting a colossal-sized crab underwater in the sewers, so that they can get access to this facility in the city that was protected. And once they killed the crab and they got to the checkpoint, and I gained them a level, the druid got water breathing. She's like, that would have been really useful last level when we were fighting the giant crab. It's like, yeah, but now fighting that crab is super easy because you don't have to worry about breathing. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. So that you can start stepping over threats by getting access to new tools. And when they realize, oh, we can use this thing to bloody blah, they feel smart for figuring out why you gave them that tool in the first place. So, like, I gave them bones, like, our druid got Bones of the Earth as her only 6th level spell invocation. And, it creates these pillars, right? That you can create up to 6 pillars that are 10 feet wide apiece, and you can build walls out of them, and they're permanent. And so she's like, oh my god, we can fence in this creature we've been fighting. We can cut off his exit so he can't get away anymore, so we can actually kill him and get through that bullet point. It's like, yes, you can. And they're like, awesome! So now they use Bones of the Earth like all the time to create barriers and to fence enemies in and to control environment. They can even use it to, like before they had, anyway, there's different things that they can do with it. And every time I give them a new toy, it's because there's challenges in the game that I know it's going to be useful for them to use. And when they realize that that's what it's for, it's like, oh, why has Samus become this little ball? Oh, it's so you can crawl underneath the space and use your bomb to open up a new access point that you can drop down into. That's how we built this campaign. So it is. I've DM'd for 30 some odd years, and I will say this is probably the best campaign I've ever built. So it's cool, and there's enough toys and stuff in there that I can build a DM's toolkit for, like, here's how you actually like I keep talking about in these streams. I build all these tools because I want you to actually use them in an adventure. So I better give you an adventure to put them in. It just happens that the Light of Xaryxis is the adventure for Spelljammer, so I can rebuild it using our Spelljammer mechanics to see how you would approach Light of Xaryxis if you have these alternate mechanics available to you. How does that change how you approach the game? Yeah, there you go. Super freaking fun. Super fun. Or like the command system for the squads in the Horde of the Dragon Queen when in Greenest in Flames. If you're familiar with that adventure, I know Tyler is because he was here for it. Actually, Tyler, you tested with us in the Greenest in Flames, right? Where you took control of the fortress and the 40 soldiers that were garrisoned there, and then had them coordinate their arrow fire so they could do D8 times 10 damage as a volley of arrows against the dragon that was burning the city down. So after you dealt 190 damage, the thing got scared and ran away. Oh no, that was Hornetico. That was there. That's right. But yeah. So yeah. I think were you both there? God, it was months ago at this point. But yeah, all these tools that I keep building, I build them so that a DM can actually use them instead of being these hypothetical ideas that you're... The biggest problem with DTRPG is collecting PDFs that you'll never use. Like, how many PDFs do you own and how many have you actually used in your game? When I build a PDF, it's because I actually want you to use it. So I want to give you examples of how that thing can be used so you can start integrating it into you as a DM. So... anyway, that's the idea. So this time travel thing is super cool, but I have to build a kit out of it so I can teach you everything I've learned about running a time travel campaign for the past 4 years. So that'll be I think that's my 20. Once one D&D comes out, I can confidently know that we're gonna stick with those mechanics for a number of years. So like that'll probably be my. I think the campaign's gonna finish in the next 9 months, so I can start building. and I can start like building the core rules, but that'll probably not be released until 2025. And at that point, we'll know how the OGL sits, and we'll know if this is something I want to do on DTRPG or if this is something I'm going to keep on the DM's Guild. My campaign's in Eberron, and it's in Alandare, outside of the Whispering Woods, if you're familiar with the area. But I could just as easily build it into a non-system like tutorial thing that doesn't use any actual mechanics at all. Like I could do that with Numenera if I wanted. This could easily be a Numenera campaign using the Cipher system, which is completely different from 5e, but the principles are all the same. So I can probably focus on building it as a principle, and then incorporate it into 5e mechanics or any other type of mechanic, like Blades in the Dark, for instance, might be a really good campaign to run that style of play with because of the heist system that it's inferred with. That might end up being my first Kickstarter campaign, honestly. And Ryan hosts Kickstarter campaigns, so that might actually be a really good idea. Get back to my original route with him and have him help me with my Kickstarter. I might actually do that. Maybe we set that as our objective after we get all this command stuff off our plate. We'll make that our first. Yeah, I think that's gonna be our first Kickstarter. That feels right. I'm sitting here making decisions. I don't know if I'm gonna hold myself to it, but right now, that feels like a cool idea. Whether that's how it pans out or not, we'll see. But the toolkit is something that's. I just want to finish the campaign first, so that I have an actual campaign that I can use for you guys to go through. Let's where are we at? 7:45. Cool. I've got 15 minutes and I gotta bail. So this hasn't been the most productive stream, but I'm enjoying it. Hope you guys are too. I watched an anime where a kid gets stuck in another world, and his power is when he sleeps, it sets a new point, and he uses it by not sleeping to go get info. Oh, that's great. Super, super cool. I don't know what anime that is. What's it called? This is relevant because the combat here, for those that haven't seen it, Here's the book cover. So for the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book, we had to build out mechanics for how fast can unnatural creatures actually hunt and fly or swim through wild space to be able to have an ecology out there among the stars. And once we established a pretty basic speed point for how animals can move through the environment, that allows us to do things like have, mounted scabbard riders instead of having Infernal War Machine ships to fly around space. Kandori, giant space whales, they're called Kandori. We can then build out an ecology of like how do sharks hunt these Kandori, what's the different scale of different types of creatures, how far can they go, establishing like flora, like different types of lichen and coral and mushrooms and like fungus that grows on asteroids, so it can feed like space guppies, which can feed space eels, which can then feed scavers and other wild space traversing creatures. Because Wizards just kind of left that up. That was like up to your DM sort of stuff. Anywhere that Wizards of the Coast says leave it up to your players, as we built out mechanics for that. So we got about 60 pages in this document of hard mechanics, and then the back 20 pages. So it'll be like a 90-page document, or probably after illustration, probably like 90 or 100 pages. It'll have all the fleshed out mechanics that we built to have here's the document that my alpha document, like the navigating space at different scales of time, and visibility ranges for like how far away can you see things using an orrery, or like detail, like if you want to have a detailed look at a person, you're gonna have to be within 50 feet of them to like read what that insignia is on his coat, for instance. But like if you're using like if you have a spyglass, you can increase the range of visibility by 10 for detailed range. Encounter maps, like you can't see a human if floating through space, you can see a speck over there, like way over there, like a mile away. There's like, I think that's a person, and then you can use your spyglass to zoom in on them a little bit. And then, like, that's the max, like, 500-foot scale is like, yeah, that's definitely a person. And then you have to zoom into the 5-foot scale. But, like, your orrery, if you're 1,000 miles away when you're on a Spelljammer ship flying at 10,000 miles per round, 1,000 miles away, you basically, there's a blip. Like, do we want to slow down for that? Like, you got that round. And if you don't, it'll either pick up in your wake and it'll float with you, or you'll fly past it without incident. But you'll have a spot check going on, your passive perception. And if your passive perception is strong, then you'll be able to pick up these small little things. So, no, I've not released any content yet. This is what we're literally building right now. I've got, here's the scaling system from the 5-foot scale to the 50-foot scale to a 500-foot scale. Here's how your ship fits inside of it. I've been streaming this stuff for months. So you can check back at the In Command playlist to see where it all started and what it evolved into. But most of these mechanics are solid. I've got Ukulele Bard as my co-writer, and I've got Adam Hancock, who did Orc and Elf Made a Baby. And he also did the Battleground's Guide to Kingdom Building. He's our editor. So most of these mechanics are done. All I have to do is fix, like we're playtesting this week, tomorrow actually, the revised action economy for the rolls. I can scroll down here, and there's a link to my Patreon that takes you to all the stuff that I'm working on, but this isn't in it yet. But here's the different roles that we have for the pilot, the siege commander, the squadron commander, and the support role, which is moving the ship and doing melee combat with the weapons on your ship, like rams and grappling claws. The siege commander, who takes control of ballista, catapult, and weapon teams and fires them using your attack economy. A squadron commander, squadrons like these guys. I could have a squadron of these guys. These things are like 15 feet long. These scabbers are 15 feet, so you can like fit 4 or 5 of them inside of a 50-foot square, and have a squadron at the at the 50-foot scale, they become basically like they basically become mobile siege weapons that can attack attack individuals or ships. And then you got squadrons, but you could also squadron scale up to the 500-foot scale and have them commanding entire ships, like additional hammer ships or wasp ships. And you need that, like in the Light of Xaryxis in the last chapters, you build an armada of allied factions to go attack the Light of Xaryxis citadel, which is a 1 mile square citadel, which is a 10 by 10 grid. I did all of that like maybe like 9-10 sessions ago. You can check the playlist. You can see how I built out the Xaryxis citadel to be a squadron combat, where it's got squadrons of star moths fighting your collaborated faction army to fight it at the squadron scale. It totally works. It totally works. Yeah, you are. Yeah, Tyler and Hornetico up here, Micah. Both Hornetico and Tyler are on my playtest teams pretty consistently, which is I think why they show up and hang out with me. It doesn't give them any additional inspiration points to hit the like button, but it certainly helps the algorithms. So I'm not at my 10K subscribers yet. If you guys want to help me get there, if you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do. But yeah, all these mechanics, we build the mechanics and then we drop them into Light of Xaryxis so you can see how they actually work inside a campaign. So all the stuff that we've been doing here on stream has been either mechanical development for the system itself, but the system's about 90% of the way there. It's really solid. So now we're just we're building out, like, now that we have these mechanics in effect, how does it change each of the encounters and challenges that are provided to us in Light of Xaryxis? How can we change them using these mechanics? So this map that we were working on at the start, I'm going to go back to that. This is going to be one of the interior illustrations in the book when it's done. So that's why I'm futzing with this. This is like a live illustration that'll end up being like free transform. Like it'll be like here's the corner of my document, and like here's my. That's horrible. You get it. Like this can be like a little vignette that sits on my page. It's like if this is the page of if this is the PDF and this is the page of the document, I can have this guy down here. I can have like scavers, and like here's your stuff about scavers, and here's Kandori, and here's your stuff about Kandori, 2-column format, and like here's how a cosmic horror operates using the system, and then I can have like this little vignette down there as my illustration. Once we finalize the document, kick it off to Adam. Adam edits it and hands it back to me. I'm going to drop it into Word, because I do all my layouts in Word. So because I work on the cheap, and asking somebody to learn InDesign if they just want to be like a casual, if they're just a casual player in the D&D scene, they're not going to want to spend money on InDesign or learn all these different systems. So I just use Word. And once the layouts are done in Word, I export each page in Word with a transparent background to be a PDF. I drop it in here, and then I just paint on it. So you can look at, if you go to playtest, you can look at the Elemental Key playtest that I have. I was doing illustrations inside of that, as well as a walkthrough of the document. But yeah, it's going to be, it'll still be a couple months before this is published. But it's going to, like this is like the what is today's session title? Where are we at? This one is called, what do we call this one? Hold on. 534. That's actually supposed to be 5-4. Anyway, Nightspider Ambush. Light of Xaryxis. This is part 2, Terrors of the Void, chapter 4, A Friend Indeed, and this is specifically the Nightspider Dread Ahead. Nightspider Dead Ahead. This is the map that we're building for that encounter. They don't have an asteroid map in Light of Xaryxis. They only had 64 pages. They did a great job with what they had. But it's the DM has to fill in the content, so we're filling in the content. And since we're filling in the content anyway, let's fill it in with these scaling mechanics so that you can have a dogfight with the Nightspider ship while you're like checking out the wreckage here. That encounter doesn't change. But once you leave the Nautiloid dungeon and get back onto your ship, you're now in this you're now in this asteroid dungeon, and your goal is to get out, either here or here, because once you get in the asteroid ship, you can't get out again, and now the night ship is preying on your ship. So you have to do a run and gun, using your weapons to fight at it while you're moving each round, like I was talking about at the beginning of the session and the past few sessions. So I was told we get extra XP if we watch. No. So, but we're at 7:59. So that's my day. Yeah, this is what we're doing. So, like the last few sessions, we built out the Omama encounter, the chapter 5. We built out Omama so that at Topola's Tower, if you're familiar with it, we built out that into a map encounter where you're hunting. Like here, you're being hunted by a Nightspider, and that one, you're hunting a space shark. Kind of in the same idea. So you take this and you flip it and you become the hunter, but you'll have experience with this navigating idea. So that's what we're working with. And then we'll build out the Xaryxis temple, the Xaryxis fortress challenge. There's not a lot we actually need. We need the Xaryxis challenge. We need this asteroid map. We need Omama. Yeah, those are the only. Those are the only 3 map challenges that we need to change for Light of Xaryxis. But then there's all the interaction stuff. We don't have to change any of the social encounter stuff. But like, if you accumulate a fleet, we have to stat out all the fleet for you so that you have those with these mechanics. There's a star moth that you can fight between this asteroid belt and actually taking off from whatever planet it is that you're at. I don't need to change any of those things. All that stuff is good. It's just these 3 encounters. We can do a map environment at scale, and it makes for a really cool final battle against the actual Xaryxis Citadel at the 500-foot scale in a 10x10 map, flying over the city, attacking different turret structures, trying to find a point where you can land and not be harassed and attacked. So, but we talked about that I think 12 sessions ago or whatever, so you can check out my playlist on my @Phil channel. And it'll all be there. But we're going to keep building this. I'm going to be working offline. Well, I've got my day job I got to start. So I got to pay Caesar what is unto Caesar, which is my time for money. And then at lunchtime, I work offline to do all the mechanics to build out the to continue with the design document. And we're about maybe a week out from having this thing finished, and I'll be able to hand it off to Adam for him to start editing. And then I'll continue working on the Light of Xaryxis section while he's chewing on this, so I can do all the playtest stuff for the Light of Xaryxis challenge while the mechanics are in edits. And then so I can come back and I can do the layouts for the actual mechanics book, and then I can just drop into the appendix, converting Light of Xaryxis at the tail end of this thing. So, like, this is it's currently like 119 pages. It's like here, like Saviors of the Multiverse. Here's the Xaryxis system and attacking the Citadel. And here's the different fleets that you can build using our system with them. Here's the squadrons of Xaryxis Star Moths. Here's the Citadel itself and its solar beam and its trebuchet towers to defend it. The tactics that Xaryxis will use during that encounter. We have all that shit kitted out. So, tactical speed and combat maps. Yeah, all this stuff for the Xaryxis stuff. That's like the back 20 pages of this. And then the front end of it, like massive objects, how to destroy asteroids, like what kind of firepower do you need? Building systems, like we use the scaling map system here, using a grid map so that you can like do a hex crawl through space, but we're actually like plotting out like the movement that you can make on these things using the scaling distances that we had in the system. Here's all the creatures that are in Boo's Menagerie and how they get changed using our scaling visualization and movement system, so that you can do things like, you know, having riders like this, like that, these mechanics make that stuff work. Repairing ships, shipyards, the size of a city that you need for the quality of crew that you have, for how much repair work per day that crew can do, how much it'll cost you to do it. They have all that shit broken down, like the lifestyle that you have to maintain on your ship to have different perks and benefits. We have all that stuff in here. So, but yeah, once this publishes, it'll all be 100% preview cover to cover. Because when I print, like, if you check my DMs Guild link down below, you'll see the Color Mana bundle that I did. All those books are 100% preview, but if you buy them, you get a zip folder full of like tokens and playmats and like the Color Mana spell list is a spreadsheet of all 577 spells or whatever, and you can edit them for each of the classes. I have all those all decked out for you, so you can get the gist of it for free. And if you want to play a campaign level 1 to 20 using my books and then come back around, like, yeah, that was actually a lot of fun, I'm willing to buy the book now. Like, cool, you should buy the book now. But a lot of people just buy it off the cuff. So, but all the artwork in there and all the layouts and stuff like that, you can see how I did all that stuff. So this is me basically advertising me making books and having a conversation about what that means and all the stuff that goes into it. So when I start doing Kickstarters, I can refer back to these playlists. It's like, if you wonder if I'm going to follow through on this Kickstarter, I've literally been talking about the time travel campaign in my stream for the past year. Here, and here's the process of me building the artwork. Here's the process of me developing the book. Here's me doing the layouts. Here's me making the maps. All the things that you need to do to build a book, I am proving to you I can build them. Now you can go buy the book or just thumb through it to see what the final product was like. And if you think that I'm worth backing on your Kickstarter project, give me $100 and you can illustrate one. You can be my art director for one of the illustrations. It's like, that's how I can fund my Kickstarters. That's my big brain idea. Build an audience here on YouTube of people that like hanging out and talking about the ideas that I have, that like my artwork. And then once I get enough of an audience built in that trusts the work that I do, I can start doing Kickstarters, and you guys can start being a part of the process. Like, you can tell me, like, you know, do you want this guy in chainmail or plate? You know, do you want an elf or do you want a Gith or do you know, blah blah, all that sort of stuff. Like, I can make that as part of my Kickstarter. But yeah, that's me for the day. And thank you. Well, I mean, if I'm doing Spelljammer, I really should pay Caesar what is Caesar's. I'll give him the 50. I'll give him the 50% for the book, but that then means on my Patreon, I like the 5 color mana mechanics I have there on DMsGuild. That's linked down below. That belongs on the DMsGuild because it's MTG and D&D. It belongs. It's their IP. I should give them that. But on my Patreon, I can build out Boros classes. I can build out the Boros guild. I can build out Boros maps. I can build out Boros boss fights. I can build Gruul versus Boros encounters. None of that stuff sells because I have the Pacts Patrons of Ravnica on the DMsGuild as well, which is 10 Warlock otherworldly patrons. Each is a different guild. It's like you can be an Azorius Warlock and your patron is the Azorius Guild itself, and that's magic. But it doesn't. It's been out for a year. It's only copper, so there's not enough of an MTG audience for me to dive that deep down the rabbit hole to have, like, I could have done like Artificers of the Guild, like Ravnica Artificers already, where you have 10 different Artificers, one for each faction, but it's not going to sell. So there's no point in me doing it on the DMsGuild and giving them half the money if it's not going to sell. But it's awesome Patreon fodder. So once I build up enough of an audience where people are supporting me regularly on Patreon, I can start shifting my gears away from the DMsGuild, build flagship books, and put the flagships on the DMsGuild, but that just becomes a marketing tool for me, of my streams, of building the books, of my Patreon where you can get all the kicker shit, of the Kickstarter where you can get on the ground floor of stuff that I'm building and be a part of that process. Like, that's the big brain picture of it, of the long term, of converting from these are DMsGuild products into I'm the guy that builds these things and I'm going to need to hire a crew to help me do these things. So if you like the cut of my jib, you like the process that I do, I'm actively looking for people that are willing to take the ideas that I make and run with them. And by run with them, I mean build me a 30-page book using these mechanics. I'll build you the cover. I'll do the layouts for you. I will edit for you. I will do all the interior artwork. I just need someone that understands what I'm doing and has an idea with it that I agree and like, that I can provide you guidance with, and I can set you loose and you can build that thing. And yeah, that's where I want to get. I want to become a studio where I can offer those things to people, and then I can talk about your book on this stream for the next 50 hours while I build it out with you. So that's kind of where I want to go, but it's still a work in progress. But I want to be a river. I want to be a river to designers. I want to be a river for artists to get paid well. I want to pay writers well. I want to pay editors well. I want to be able to build enough of a reputation that people are willing to back me as a consumer and back me as producers, so we can take these tools and rebuild 5e or 6e into an older school where we have tools and resources to be epic heroes inside of game spaces. So that's the big brain picture. That's my pitch on who I am and why you should subscribe to my channel. So I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta start my day, and I'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow morning, and then I'll be doing playtesting Thursday night, and then I'll be back Friday morning. I might be on for Friday's stream, and I don't think I have a design meeting Saturday morning, so I'll probably be back doing Eberron maps Saturday morning for the Crystals of Mabar adventure that I'm working on. Here's the cover to that, and that's the last thing I'll do. I'll show you the Crystals of Mabar cover that I did. It's an Eberron adventure. We're building a toolkit for randomly generating, like creating random adventures inside of Eberron, and then we build them out. Tyler was one of my playtesters on that. But yeah. So we'll right on, dude. I'm out of here. I will catch you guys on the other side. And thanks a lot for spending time with me, guys. You guys are great. I really appreciate you.